After confronting Benny at the Tops Casino, we have to make a decision that splits the story of the game down one of 4 paths. We can give the platinum chip to House, thereby siding with him. We can respond to an NCR summons and work with the NCR. We can respond to Caesar's summons and meet with Caesar at Fortification Hill. Or we can work with Yes Man to fight for an independent New Vegas. In my last series, we explored the entire House ending to the game. This is the first episode of the Legion story. After confronting Benny, when we leave the Tops Casino, we are approached by a man in a black suit and a fedora.
The eyes of the mighty Kaiser are upon you. He admires your accomplishments and bestows upon you the exceptional gift of his mark. Any crimes you may have perpetrated against the Legion are hereby forgiven. Kaiser will not extend this mercy a second time. My lord requires your presence at his camp at Fortification Hill. His mark will guarantee your safe conduct through our lands. Incidentally, it will interest you to know that the man you seek has fled the Strip and is likely making haste for Kaiser's camp as we speak.
You again? How'd you find me here?
I am the greatest of Kaiser's frumentari. It was not a challenge to find you. Nor is this my first visit to the Strip.
Tell Kaiser I accept his invitation.
Seek Kaiser by way of Cottonwood Cove, south of Nelson. The Cursor Lucullus will be waiting.
We first met Wulpes Inculta in the town of Nipton. At the time, he had just murdered almost every member of the town of Nipton. We found their bodies piled in the middle of town and burning. When he saw us, instead of attacking, he gave us a mission.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happened by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Kaiser's Legion taught here, especially any NCR troops you run across.
I'll do as you ask.
Then I bid you Wale, until we meet again.
When I did my video on Nipton, I was so disgusted by what Wulpes Inculta did here that I killed him. But Wulpes is an important member of the Legion, but I wanted to tell the whole story of the Legion, and so I reloaded a previous save back before I killed Wulpes, and this time let him live. As he walks away, he gives us the quest, Cold, Cold Heart. Our only job is to spread word of Legion atrocities. We can complete this quest by heading southwest towards the Mojave outpost. As we climb the hill, we see the statues celebrating the Ranger Unification Treaty standing proudly on the hillside. To complete the quest, we need to tell a man named Sergeant Kilborn about what happened at Nipton. Thankfully, in my game, I found him running down the hill to attack a scorpion. When he was done, I took him aside.
Coming from the north? Must be crazy to brave those roads.
Now, we could go all in for Kaiser here and say, "Away, Kaiser!" and attack.
Legion!
But instead of attacking, he just sort of walks away. Killing him completes Cold, Cold Heart, but we gain NCR infamy. Or we can say, the Legion has attacked Nipton, burned and killed everyone.
What? There's no way. We're miles from the Colorado. They aren't even waiting for the dam to fall. They're already inside the borders. We'll never stop them. Not at this rate. We're doomed. Thanks for bringing the word. Even if the news is bad, I'll let the men know.
And that completes Wulpe's goal. This is a major strategy of the Legion. The reason they commit atrocities is to shock and intimidate their enemies, to sap their will to fight. Now, Wulpes Inculta gave us the Mark of Kaiser. With the mark, we have safe passage through Cottonwood Cove. We meet Cursor Lucullus on a raft at the dock, and he ferries us across the river. Lucullus here is the first legionary we meet who expresses the Legion's opinions about women. I covered his dialogue in episode 4 of this series. When we arrive at the fort, the main gate guard confiscates our weapons, chems, and booze. Chems and booze are forbidden within the Legion. When we came here in episode 4, I quickly walked through the fort. But this time, we'll explore every detail. Standing at the base of Fortification Hill are a series of crosses. We saw a number of crosses traveling down the road to Cottonwood Cove. On some, we found great khans who were guilty of peddling chems. On others, we saw crucified slaves. We don't know whose skeletons are hanging here, possibly slaves or maybe even disobedient legionaries. As we move forward, we see a slave appear on the other side of a gate to the southeast.
Excuse me.
She doesn't have much to say, but she's carrying a large pack. This gate leads to another Legion camp. The slaves are ferrying goods between the camp on the river and Kaiser's tent on Fortification Hill. We can't ever visit this camp, we can only see it from a distance. Standing next to this gate is a merchant named Dale Barton.
So you're the visitor I've heard some of the legionaries talking about. If you're in the mood to trade, just say the word.
Have you ever met Kaiser?
I haven't had the pleasure. I have crossed paths with Legate Lanius, his second in command, however. It was unpleasant.
Tell me about the legate.
He's the best the Legion has to offer, or so the legionaries say. Brute of a man, wears a fancy metal mask in a battle. He killed one of my pack Brahmin simply because it was in his way. I knew better than to complain about it, though.
Are you part of the Legion?
No, ma'am. I'm an independent trader from Arizona.
Is it dangerous to trade with the Legion?
Not at all. They're my best customers. As long as you don't try to sell them chems or alcohol, they treat you fair. Hell, I don't even need to travel with guards most of the time in Legion territory. All the bandits are dead or run off.
Do you ever trade with the NCR?
Between having to hire protection and getting slapped with taxes, it's more profitable to stick to Arizona and New Mexico. But I do cross the river from time to time when an opportunity comes along.
Barton here can repair items, but his repair skill is only 30, making him less than useful at higher levels. We can play Caravan with Dale here, and he has an interesting inventory. He only has 600 caps on his inventory, but he has quite a few Caravan cards. We can really flesh out our deck by purchasing every card he has on his inventory. Now, since he's trading with the Legion, he doesn't sell chems or booze. He also doesn't sell very many weapons or armor, but he does have a pretty interesting collection of weapon mods. But he's one of the only vendors here at the fort, and he doesn't sell very much ammunition, which is a bit frustrating. To meet Kaiser, we have to ascend Fortification Hill. Crossing the drawbridge, we see the well-worn trail off to the northeast. Here, the slaves carry goods up and down, day in and day out. And we also see children running up and down, up and down.
I can't wait until they let me fight.
Don't bother me. I'm training to become a full legionary.
The path twists and turns, and at the top of the hill, we can turn around for a view of the Colorado. And there we see the camp on the other side of that gate that we saw at the bottom. It is a sprawling city of tents. We arrive on the eve of war. Kaiser has been preparing for the past 4 years to yet again attack Hoover Dam, and it looks like he's about to strike at any moment. At the very top of the hill next to the gate, we find the legionary instructor who's training the children.
What the fuck was that? I've seen crippled slaves move faster. I'm harsh on the children, but they'll be excellent legionaries. I'm quite proud of them.
But he's only training boys. As we learned from Cursor Lucullus, women are forbidden to fight for the Legion. On the other side of the gate, we find even more pitched tents. Nearby, we find a legionary blacksmith sharpening a machete. And in the middle of the camp, we see an arena. The gate is open. We don't see anyone inside. But just outside the gate, we find a man named Otho.
What do you want from me, woman? I'm in charge of the arena, not the cooking pots.
Do you have a problem with women?
Women are beneath notice, as Kaiser has taught us. I'm only allowing you to speak to me because you are Kaiser's guest.
Tell me about the arena. What are the rules?
Light armor and machetes only. The challenger, the one who asks to enter the arena, may be pitted against one or more opponents. All matches continue until one side is dead. No exceptions.
What do you do?
I set up the fights, keep track of prisoners available, and make sure the arena's cleaned up.
Who does the fighting?
Most of the time, it's some young legionary trying to make a name for himself, hoping to get noticed by Kaiser or the Praetorians. We pit slaves or prisoners against each other once in a while, but it's not much of a show. They're usually too reluctant to kill each other.
Dale Barton down below told me about a guy named Legate Lanius. What can you tell me about the Legate?
A great warrior. When he was but a recruit, I watched him kill 10 men in the arena with his bare hands. He doesn't feel pain, and he never ever shows mercy. If all legionaries were like him, the Legion would be invincible.
I'd like to fight in the arena.
Know your place, woman. Unlike the profligates of the NCR, only men fight in the Legion.
And no matter how much fame we earn with Caesar's Legion, even if we become idolized, we can never fight in the arena as a female courier. But as a male...
You here to fight in the arena? Then you're talking to the right man.
I'd like to fight.
That can be arranged. You will be facing off against a couple of disobedient slaves. Not much of a challenge, but it might be entertaining to watch.
I'm ready.
Remember the rules. Light armor and machetes only. And, of course, to the death.
Got it. Let's go.
Good luck.
The first round is against 2 slaves. They fight fiercely with machetes at first until we inflict too much damage. Then they cower by the walls, making it easier for us to cut them down. When the fight is over, we get our normal inventory back, and we can head back outside to schedule another fight with Otho.
As expected, it wasn't much of a fight, but what can you expect from slaves?
I'm ready for another fight.
There's a captured NCR trooper available, Sergeant Andrews. He's already been challenged once and survived, so he should be a worthy opponent. Careful in there. He's tougher than he looks.
We wear gladiator armor and wield a gladiator machete, but this NCR trooper, Sergeant Andrews, is wearing slave rags. I'm not sure how fair this is. Sergeant Andrews is much more formidable than the 2 slaves we just killed, but after a short while, he goes down.
A good fight. Some NCR troopers can be competent fighters.
I'd like to fight again.
I have a dangerous one for you. An NCR ranger by the name of Stella. We got lucky since we rarely capture rangers alive. Even though she's a woman, she's killed every man who's faced her in the arena. Even one of the elite Centurions. With her bare hands.
Okay, I'm ready.
Watch out for her. She's one of the deadliest fighters I've ever seen.
So they don't let women join the Legion. Women, as Otho said, are beneath notice. And yet he freely admits that Ranger Stella here is an incredibly skilled warrior. She's pretty tough. I died the first time I tried this, but I was eventually successful when I tried a second time. When done, we can check in with Otho.
Unbelievable. You stood against a ranger in single combat and survived.
Can I fight in the arena again?
Sorry, but there's nobody left who'd even be a challenge for you.
As we walk away...
The new slave girls are quite beautiful.
Oh wait, I thought women were beneath notice. He's certainly noticing the slave girls. With that, we exhaust the arena. There are only 3 fights to be had, but we do gain Caesar's Legion fame. Heading to the northeast, we find a bit of a cafeteria, and standing before it is the slave Siri.
A free woman. It's been a while since I've seen a woman who wasn't a slave. I forget myself. Are you injured?
You're a doctor?
I never finished my training. The Legion saw to that when they overran my town. I do know basic first aid, but I've had to rely on tribal remedies to treat illnesses and injuries, healing powders and all that. I'm always running low on Xanderroot. Plenty of Brock flowers, though.
We can pass a survival check of 20 to say you're using 1 Brock flower per Xanderroot, right?
Oh, I've been using 2 roots per flower. Thanks to you, I'll be able to create twice as much healing powder per day.
Passing that speech check grants us some Legion fame. Do you have anything for sale, Siri?
For sale? I'm a slave, not a merchant. I could give you some healing powder every day, but you'd have to be a friend of the Legion.
Okay, well, I'd like some healing powder.
I can only do that if you're a friend of the Legion. I don't want to get crucified.
Looks like we'll have to come back after we complete a few quests. Well, tell me about yourself, Siri. Where are you from?
A small town in New Mexico. The Legion burned it a few years back. That's how I ended up here.
How long have you been a slave?
3 years and counting. If I could just get across the river, I'd be free. Not that I'd try it. I've seen what happens when you get caught.
How are women treated around here?
We're property. If you're too young or too old, the men usually leave you alone. Usually. You ought to be careful yourself. I overheard some of the legionaries talking about trying you out.
Usually? Well, what do you know about Legate Lanius?
The legate is not a man to be crossed, especially if you're a woman. That's all I'll talk about it.
Sounds like Siri here has crossed paths with the man. It's a small little cafeteria for so many troops.
Some of the slaves have been spreading stories about the burned man again.
and we see their next meal roasting over a spit. Moving northwest, we can begin to climb the mound in the center of the camp. At the very top, we find Kaiser's tent. But before we go inside, we can chat with this guy over here by the wall. His name is Anthony.
Outsiders are a rare sight at the fort. Step carefully around here and you might just leave alive. I'm Anthony, Master of the Hounds.
Where does the Legion get its dogs?
We breed them mostly, but sometimes we get some good ones from Denver. That whole city is overrun with them.
You train these dogs?
Been doing it since I was a boy. The mongrels know to listen up when I start talking to them.
Nice dog.
Lupa? Yes, she's the mother of a lot of our best dogs. She's getting old, but she's still a tough old bitch. Aren't you, girl? Yeah.
We remember Lupa. She's a potential candidate for harvesting a brain for Rex, which I covered in my video about Rex that you can watch here. What can you tell me about Legate Lanius?
It took years for Kaiser to conquer Lanius' tribe, and Kaiser showed mercy to the survivors, allowing them to join the Legion. Had the positions been reversed, Kaiser would be dead. Lanius is called the Monster of the East because he never, ever shows mercy.
I overheard some of the other legionaries talking about someone called the Burned Man. What do you know about him?
He's a story to frighten the younger legionaries. He's dead. No man, no matter how tough, could survive a fall into the Grand Canyon.
After chatting with Anthony, we can head back up the hill. We see more of the camp off to the west, but we'll explore that in a minute. We see a large Roman seal at the top of the tent. Is that supposed to depict Kaiser? And after telling our companions to wait, we can enter the tent. Inside, we see Kaiser sitting on his throne, flanked by his soldiers. To the left is a dining table, and to the right is Benny. I covered every possible ending for Benny in episode 5 of this series, so we'll pass him by for now. Instead, we'll walk up to the throne of Kaiser.
So I finally get to meet the courier who's accomplished so much in so little time. That's why I summoned you here, right? I mean, a man nearly kills you, and your response is to track him across the breadth of the Mojave? You visit the tops, and next thing you know, the head of the chairman is fleeing the strip like a whimpering little pup. When you set your mind to something, you get results. I like that. The question is, are you ready to get started?
And you'll notice that he's far less intense this time around. That's because this character has not killed Wolpezen Kolta, or any other legionary for that matter. In the last series, he was initially hostile, but he has no reason to be right now. Here he has the same dialogue that I fully explored in episode 5. He asks us to enter an old building that he found on the top of this hill before he struck camp and destroy whatever we find in there. After accepting his quest, he gives us the platinum chip, which he correctly surmises is a key to that building. To his right, we find none other than Wolpezen Kolta.
I suspect you'll be a valuable asset to the Legion. Assuming you're really on our side, of course.
Was there anything you need me to do?
There's a gambler, Martina Grosbeck, who has a knack for learning other people's secrets and passing that information along, for a price. The Omertas, who run Gomorrah, have become suspicious of Martina's frequent visits to their casino. Soon they'll pay her a visit of their own.
Why can't you take care of this yourself?
I prefer to handle these matters through intermediaries, such as yourself.
What's in it for me?
Besides the gratitude of the Legion? Don't worry. You'll be paid in coin or caps.
I'll consider it.
If you have to. I really don't see what there is to consider.
All right. I'll check up on her for you.
Good. Martina frequents the Vault 21 gift shop on the Strip. Hurry along, and she still may be in one piece by the time you get there.
Oh, so now we have 2 quests. After giving us the quest, he has more to say. What can you tell me about the Legate?
To call Lanius ferocious would be an understatement. In battle, he seizes the enemy in his jaws and will not let go. He thinks nothing of suffering losses, so long as the enemy suffers more. Though unsubtle, he is not dim. He detects traps and sets his own. Be glad you will not have to face his judgment. If you are true to Kaiser.
Can you tell me anything about this Burned Man I keep hearing about?
Ah, yes. We are forbidden from speaking his true name. He was a shaman of some kind before he met Kaiser, a holy man from out of the Utah. The burned man proved dangerous, unpredictable, and impossible to kill. He helped Kaiser form the Legion, but almost led it to destruction.
Behind Kaiser's throne, we find his tent. Inside, we find a strategy table and his bed in the back of the room. Sitting at the table is a man named Lucius.
It is a great honor for anyone outside the Legion to get an audience with Kaiser.
Is there anything that you need me to do?
We recently obtained an artillery weapon, but we don't have the part or the skill to fix it.
Where did you get the artillery weapon?
The trader Dale Barton salvaged it from a military base in Arizona. Yuma, I believe.
What do you need the artillery for?
The best marksmen of the NCR are usually at the rear of any battle. The gun will allow us to strike at them.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
The tribe calling themselves the Boomers is obsessed with such weapons, I've been told. You can probably find a spare firing mechanism there.
Is there anything you can tell me about the Legate?
He's the best warrior in the Legion. A full legionary by the time he was 12, he's never lost a battle. Had the Legate been in command during the Battle of Hoover Dam, the Legion would have won. I have no doubt about that.
Are you the Legion's second in command?
No. Legate Lanius is Kaiser's second. The Legate replaced the Burned Man after the Legion's defeat at the dam several years ago.
Tell me about the Burned Man.
The Burned Man was Kaiser's advisor and general when the Legion was originally formed. The Burned Man led us to a disastrous defeat at the dam. On Kaiser's orders, the Burned Man was covered in pitch by the Praetorian Guard, lit on fire, and cast into the Grand Canyon. Kaiser has forbidden us from ever speaking his true name again, and so we simply refer to him as the Burned Man.
And so we finally get the story on the Burned Man. His true name is actually Joshua Graham. By banning his name, Kaiser has effectively increased his mystique. We learned in my series on the Honest Hearts DLC that Joshua Graham still lives. You can watch that series by clicking here. Lucius, I've noticed that you don't carry a gun.
It's a tradition in the Praetorians to specialize in unarmed combat, because weapons can break or jam when needed most. However, our unarmed techniques favor offense over defense. We can charge the enemy and flatten him with our first strike before he can react.
We can pass an unarmed check of 50 to say, can you teach me the Praetorian unarmed technique?
Of course. This will take some time, and I'm not a forgiving teacher.
And with that, we learned the unarmed technique, Legion Assault. But he was right, it did take a while to teach me. It was night by the time he was finished, so waiting until morning we can continue talking with Lucius. How did you end up joining the Legion?
When I was a boy, the Legion conquered my tribe. I was chosen for training as a legionary. I fought in many battles for the Legion. Eventually, Kaiser chose me to lead his Praetorian Guard. It was a great honor.
What happened to the rest of your tribe?
The girls and women were enslaved, and many of the men and boys were also chosen to become legionaries. The rest were killed.
You don't hate the Legion for what it did to your tribe?
We were savages. The Legion raised us up, made us better than what we were.
What do you think about the NCR?
The NCR Rangers are the biggest threat. Without them, the NCR is nothing.
How did the NCR defeat the Legion at Hoover Dam before?
We had the numbers, but not the tactics. I know. I was there at Boulder City when we were defeated. We relied too much on veteran legionaries for direction and leadership, and the Rangers exploited our weakness by killing our best from afar.
I've noticed legionaries prefer using machetes as weapons.
Kaiser has taught us that over-reliance on firearms can only weaken us in the long run. It's why we train heavily with our blades and our fists. Unlike an NCR trooper, a legionary is always ready to fight, regardless of the circumstance he finds himself in.
There sure are a lot of tents here.
And just about every one of them is occupied. Not all at the same time, usually. Groups of legionaries come and go all the time. This is also only one camp of many. You might have noticed the other camps down by the river.
Indeed we did. On the strategy table, we see a map of Hoover Dam. It straddles the Colorado, with Arizona to the east and Nevada to the west. In the back of the room next to Caesar's tent, we find a Mark III auto dock. This is a Mark III autodoc primarily used for routine surgeries. However, the diagnostic scanning unit is burnt out, rendering this autodoc useless. Well, if it's useless, why are they keeping it around? Well, before we can learn more from Kaiser, we've got to complete his job. Passing by Benny, we'll deal with him later. We can head out of the tent. Outside the tent, we can move behind it. Walking south, we see more tents and a radio tower to the west, but to the southeast, we find a howitzer, pointed off towards Hoover Dam. Without a replacement firing mechanism, this howitzer is useless. This must be the artillery gun that Lucius asked us to repair. Well, now we know where it is. Heading down some steps towards the camp, we see a wall off to the south. Opening the gate, we find a Brahmin and a young girl named Melody.
I can't talk to you. It's not allowed.
What do you do here?
I help take care of the Brahmin. I sometimes bring water and food to people. That's it.
We can pass a 50 speech check to say, I'm a friend. It's okay for you to talk to friends, right?
I guess that's okay. If you're a friend, can you help me?
What do you need help with?
Anthony took Sergeant Teddy away and gave him to the stinky dogs. I want him back.
They let you have toys here?
I kept him secret, but I think somebody told on me.
Why did Anthony take him away?
Anthony said he was punishing me for trying to hide it from the Legion.
I'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
Heading out and back up the hill towards Anthony.
What?
I'm here for Melody's bear.
The stupid girl should know by now that even the rags on her back are a privilege. Anyway, my mongrels like their new toy. Tell you what, you square off with 4 of my best dogs. No armor and no weapons except a machete. You survive, and I let you have the bear.
You won't mind if I kill them?
I think they'll probably end up killing you. I trained them myself. But if you do win somehow, the mongrels will at least get honorable deaths.
We can pass a barter check of 50 to make this fight a little easier. Potentially losing 4 dogs is a very high price to pay for a toy. How about 2?
All right, 2 it is. There'll still be more than enough to take you down, I think.
Let's do this.
Good luck. You'll need it.
We then appear in the arena, naked, with nothing but a gladiator machete. We then get immediately attacked by either 2 or 4 Legion mongrels. But I found these guys fairly easy to deal with. As long as you can get around behind them, you can attack them without getting bitten. Of course, we're being attacked from all sides by 3 others, so it's just a matter of working on them one by one until they're dead. After the duel, we can head back to Anthony to gloat.
Damn it! I thought they had you!
He says the same thing to both of these. You call that a challenge? Ha!
Take the bear! I can't believe I let some of my best dogs get killed over this stupid thing. Your stuff is in the crate next to the arena entrance. Leave it there too long, and we'll dump it in the lake.
After retrieving our gear, we can head back to Melody.
Hi.
I got Sergeant Teddy. He's a little chewed up.
That's okay. I'll fix him. Can I have him now?
Not so fast. What will you give me for him?
But I don't have anything. I thought you were my friend.
Well, all right, here you go.
Thank you.
And if we give her the bear, we gain karma. Or, after hearing that, we can tear Sergeant Teddy in half.
Sergeant Teddy!
With that, she walks off, and we lose karma. And we gain Caesar's Legion fame. Well, I'm trying to build my Legion fame as quickly as possible, so guess we're gonna tear up the bear. On this level, we find a larger tent with sleeping bags inside, and then dozens of other tents set up right next to a training yard. We see that they've been practicing on dummies. And in the very back, being guarded by a veteran legionary, is the weather monitoring station. Now, we fully explored this weather monitoring station in episode 5 of this series, so I won't do so here. But to complete the step for Kaiser, we insert the platinum chip into the nearby console, which opens up some stairs to an underground vault. Here we find Robert House waiting for us on a computer, and he has unique dialogue if we came here straight away instead of visiting him at the Lucky 38 first.
I do wish you'd come and met with me at the Lucky 38 when you first arrived on the Strip, or after Benny fled even. Quite an honor you spurned, my invite. You would be the first person to set foot inside the Lucky 38 in over 200 years. But you still wound up here, right where I wanted you. I knew I could rely on Caesar to return the platinum chip to you.
He then has all the same dialogue, but to complete this encounter for the Legion, we'll say, I'm going to do as Kaiser asks and blow everything up down here.
Listen to me very carefully. I waited too long for this moment for you to go fouling it up on a lark. Do as I say, and your rewards will be immense. Thwart me, and your punishment will become the purpose of my existence.
Nope, I'm gonna blow it all up anyways.
Then there will be no safe haven for you.
But strangely enough, he still opens up the door. On the other side of the door, we go down some stairs where we have to fight through a bunch of robots protecting 3 generators. We have to destroy each of these 3 generators until the vault begins to leak radiation and we start to see explosions. Then, as we hightail it out of there, we fight through a bunch of sentry bots before racing up the stairs and out of the vault. We make it to the other side just in time for the vault to explode below us. With the deed done, we head back up the hill to check in with Kaiser.
I felt the ground shake a while ago. I'll take that as a sign you've got the job done. There are rewards for doing as I command. Today, your reward is vengeance. You get to decide how Benny dies. Go to Benny. Let him know what you've decided. My Praetorians will perform the execution, unless you want to perform it yourself.
Thank you, Kaiser.
Consider it the first of many bestowments.
And we finally become accepted with the Legion. We can now take care of Benny, and since we are siding with the Legion here, we're gonna have to go ahead and crucify him.
You sick, vindictive fuck!
With the choice made, Benny disappears, and we can finally sit down for a chat with Kaiser.
I'm sure you found Benny's demise pleasing. The destruction of an enemy? There are few things more satisfying. Let's press on, shall we? As I was telling you before, I want Mr. House out of the picture. You have an interest in his death, too. If he knows that you destroyed his gadgets beneath the fort, he will strike back. You know where to find him. How he dies, I leave up to you.
Before I go off and kill House, I've got some questions first.
What did you want to know?
This is a really important conversation. Kaiser is a charismatic leader. His presence demands respect. You want to please this guy. That's why even after everything we've seen going on here at the fort, it is this conversation that convinces many to side with the Legion. Kaiser, are your bodyguards special in any way?
My Praetorians embody the martial ideals of my Legion. Each one of them has done enough conquering and killing to deserve the rank of Centurion. Instead, I invited them to join my guard. So the invitee chooses whichever current guard he thinks is weakest and challenges him. The fight is to the death. It keeps them from getting complacent.
Well, let's just hope for your sake that the Praetorians don't become politically ambitious. Otherwise, they may do to you what they did to Caligula. How long has Lucius been the head of your Praetorians?
Lucius has been the head of my guard for 5 years now. He was a subordinate guard for 8 before that. No invitee has dared to challenge him yet. Maybe it's an issue of respect. He is getting on in years.
Tell me about Vulpes Inculta.
Vulpes is the best of my frumentari, a remarkable individual from an unremarkable tribe south of the Utah. He was brought into the Legion as a boy, survived training, fought well enough as a legionary to be promoted to the rank of Decanus. Then in battle against an unimportant tribe, he broke ranks and led his contubernium through a hole in their defenses to capture its chieftain. Well, his Centurion wanted him crucified for disobedience, so I made him a frumentari.
What did the frumentari do?
Whatever I require. Infiltration, assassination, dramatic atrocities to break the spirit of the enemy, etc. They're mentally flexible. They operate behind enemy lines for extended periods, imitating the enemy's customs without becoming sullied. In all these things, Vulpes is a master.
I've heard rumors of your legate Lanius. What's his story?
Linnaeus is the greatest of my battlefield commanders. Some might call him a great man, but I'm not sure he qualifies. Once, he was the greatest warrior of the Hydebarks, a tribe of the Arizona. Maniacal in battle. Sometimes he'd ambush Legion patrols by himself. When after several months we found and surrounded the Hydebarks camp, their chieftain raised a banner of surrender. The warrior, who was not yet Linnaeus, went insane with rage. He struck down his chieftain and attacked his own tribe.
What happened when Lanius attacked his own tribe?
He killed 15 before they brought him down. He didn't die, obviously. I had him tended to. He was maimed, most of his face torn off. It was days before he regained consciousness. When he did, I went to his bedside and showed him the helmet I'd had forged to cover his face. I said he could have it if he'd fight for me. He accepted, on condition that he be allowed to kill the surviving males of his tribe. I said, make it the adult males, and you have a deal.
He sounds more like a savage than a general.
Linnaeus is savage. Savagely loyal, too, but only to me. He has no love for my legion. But this has its uses. He has no attachment to his men, no compunction about battlefield losses. All he cares about is destroying the enemy. When another legatus or a centurion fails to achieve results, I send Linnaeus to make things right. His first step is to beat the failed commander to death in front of his assembled troops. Then he orders the ritual of decimatio.
What is decimatio?
It means decimation. But in ancient Rome, the word had a very specific meaning. A punishment for cowardice. The legionaries are lined up in ranks. Every 10th man steps forward and is beaten to death by his brothers. It instills a certain robust obedience.
So Lanius will lead the assault on Hoover Dam?
Yes. This time my legionaries will be more frightened of the commander behind them than the enemy before them. There will be no failure this time, no retreat, no years of gathering slaves and resources for another assault. With Linnaeus to drive the legion forward, the dam will be taken. It will be our bridgehead across the Colorado.
Why did the Legion lose the first battle?
It's not going to happen again, that's all I have to say about it.
Well, I've heard the commander of the first battle called the Burned Man.
And I've heard it's a bad idea to tempt the wrath of Kaiser. Change the subject.
How did you capture Benny?
I'll hand it to that piece of shit. He was determined. He used some kind of old-world stealth device to get across the river in a Legion boat. Seems the device ran out of juice once he got here, but he was dressed like a legionary. He was caught just outside the weather station. See, thing is, he didn't change his hairstyle. To go to all that effort and fail because you're too vain to mush your hair.
What happened after Benny was caught?
He was brought before me along with the platinum chip. That's how I knew he wasn't some kind of profligate infiltrator. Benny tried to sell me a story, but Lucius has a way of coaxing the truth out of captives. Everything just comes spilling out.
What do you think of the NCR?
Do you want my opinion as a former citizen or future conqueror? Actually, my opinion's the same either way. As a young man, I was taught to venerate President Tandy of Shady Sands, the founding mother of the new California Republic. Did you know her presidency lasted 52 years? And that her father, Aradesh, was the Republic's first president? Does that sound like a democracy to you? Or a hereditary dictatorship?
But President Tandy was voted into office each time.
Because the council didn't dare oppose her. She was too popular. She had the people's love. So things ran smoothly, more or less. And as soon as she was gone, as soon as there really could be democracy, what happened then? Ever since losing its queen, the NCR has been weaker, more diffuse. Democracy has been its weakness, not its strength.
How is the NCR weak?
Greed runs rampant. The government is corrupt, accepting bribes from Brahmin barons and landowners to the detriment of citizens. The NCR is a loose conglomerate of individuals looking out for themselves. It's lost virtue. No one cares about the collective, the greater good. It's not built to last. I'm just hastening the inevitable.
Surely the NCR is still a powerful foe.
Of course. The most powerful my legion has faced. Also the first to which I am ideologically opposed. Until now, every tribe I've conquered has been so backwards and stunted, enslavement has been a gift bestowed upon them. My conquest of the Mojave will be a glorious triumph, marking the transition of the Legion from a basically nomadic tribe to a genuine empire. Just as my namesake campaigned in Gaul before he crossed the Rubicon, so have I campaigned and will cross the Colorado.
What do you know about Mr. House?
I know he's a coward, hiding behind an army of robots ensconced in that tower of his like a wizard in one of those Grognak comic books. Some say he's a man, others a machine. I don't care. He's in the way.
What role will regional powers play in the conflict?
I've analyzed the region's tribe to determine how they might be useful. I may tell you more at a later time, if it suits me.
How did you rise to power?
Ironically, I was born a profligate myself, a citizen of the NCR. My family lived not far from the Great Boneyard. After raiders killed my father, my mother sought the followers' protection. I was 2 years old. She found work at their library, cooking and cleaning. I learned how to read, and soon I was taking courses, free of charge.
You were a follower of the apocalypse?
Oh, yes. Raised in that tradition. And the teaching stuck. I was taught it was my responsibility to bring the torch of knowledge to the wastes. I may have taken the torch part more literally than they intended.
What changed you from a follower to a dictator?
When I was 20, the followers sent me east to Grand Canyon. It was my first expedition. Just me and a physician named Calhoun. As an anthropologist and linguist, my assignment was to learn the dialects of the Grand Canyon tribes. What a fucking waste of time.
Why would learning dialects be a waste of time?
If you think it's worthwhile to make smart people learn how to talk like backward savages, you're a follower of the apocalypse. Or an idiot. Anyway, we met up with a Mormon missionary who already knew a bunch of dialects. Joshua Graham. He was supposed to teach me. But before that went too far, the Blackfoot tribe captured us to hold us for ransom. They were a backward bunch. But the real problem was, they didn't know how to fight.
What was wrong with the Blackfoot?
The Blackfoot were at war with 7 other tribes, each just as pissant as they were. But outnumbered like that, they weren't going to last long. It's one thing to be taken hostage, another to be lashed to a sinking ship. So over Calhoun's objections, I decided to take certain steps. I taught them how to use the guns they already had, how to strip and clean them, how to breathe when pulling a trigger, how to reload ammunition. They looked at me like I was some kind of a sorcerer. So I taught them how to make explosives and started drilling them on small unit tactics. If there's anything I learned as a follower of the apocalypse, it's that there's a lot of good information in old books.
What happened after you trained the Blackfoot?
Divide et impera, divide and conquer. I led the Blackfoot against the Ridgers, their weakest enemy. When they refused to surrender, I ordered every man, woman, and child killed. When next we surrounded the Kaibabs, and they likewise refused, I took one of their envoys to the Ridgers' village and showed him the corpse piles. This was new for the tribes, you see. They played at war, raiding each other, a little rape and pillage here, a little ransoming there. I showed them total warfare. Like I said, there's a lot you can learn from old books.
What happened to those tribes?
Kaibabs joined me, and the Fredonians after that. All the pissant tribes with names that should be forgotten. I knew from the start I'd need to eradicate this plague of tribal identities, replacing them with a monolithic culture, a uniform identity. So that's what I did once my confederation of tribes was large enough. I crowned myself Kaiser and created a single great tribe, my legion. I sent Calhoun, the follower captured with me back west, with a message that I should not be interfered with. Joshua Graham, The Mormon interpreter stayed with me and served as my first legatus.
And since forming the Legion, all you've done is conquer other tribes?
That's right. Decades of warfare, absorbing lesser tribes, gathering power, forging the dross into a vast, razor-sharp scythe. My Legion's expansion has never ceased. Much of the Utah and Colorado and all of Arizona and New Mexico are mine. We have cities of our own, but nothing compared to Vegas. Finally, my Legion will have its Rome.
Why is Kaiser's Legion so strange?
I used Imperial Rome as the model for my Legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, a society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana.
What does Pax Romana mean?
It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogenous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all cost. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production.
Literally, Pax Romana means Roman peace. It describes a specific period of time, 206 years, when Rome was not at war. Before that, Rome had been at war continuously for over 200 years. Kaiser is right here. Rome was able to enter Pax Romana because they defeated everyone around them so thoroughly that there was no one left to fight back. So you'll destroy the NCR because you hate its inefficiencies?
No. I'll destroy it because it's inevitable that it be destroyed. It's Hegelian dialectics, not personal animosity.
Hegelian dialectics? What are those?
How do I put this basically enough? It's a philosophical theory, the kind you might encounter if you took time to read some books. The fundamental premise is to envision history as a sequence of dialectical conflicts. Each dialectic begins with a proposition, a thesis, which inherently contains or creates its opposite, an antithesis. Thesis and antithesis. The conflict is inevitable, but the resolution of the conflict yields something new, a synthesis, eliminating the flaws in each, leaving behind common elements and ideas.
So what's dialectic about you and the NCR?
The bombs wiped the slate clean. Human civilization descended to a level of ignorance that effectively set our cultural progress back to zero. The NCR has all the problems of the ancient Roman Republic: extreme bureaucracy, corruption, extensive senatorial infighting. Just as with the ancient Republic, it is natural that a military force should conquer and transform the NCR into a military dictatorship. Thesis and antithesis. The Colorado River is my Rubicon. The NCR Council will be eradicated, but the new synthesis will change the Legion as well, from a basically nomadic army to a standing military force that protects its citizens and the power of its dictator.
I noticed a machine at the foot of your bed. What is the machine in your tent?
It's called an autodoc. As the name suggests, it's an automated physician, more or less. He can treat broken bones, cuts, punctures, scrapes. Sometimes I bestow its use upon someone I favor. Makes for a powerful gift in a culture that forbids painkillers and is largely ignorant of medical science.
After we've exhausted all dialogue with Kaiser, we have two options. We can say, "I'm done working for you."
Mark my words, you piece of shit. This is the last time you will ever refuse to perform an order I've given you. If you meant what you said, you best be on your way, and at good speed. And forget all that I could have given you. If you ever disobey me again, I will order my Praetorians to hack you to death with their machetes for my entertainment.
I see. Well, since you put it that way, I'll eliminate Mr. House for you.
Good. Don't know what kind of security he has inside the Lucky 38, But if you can find a way of catching him off guard, do so.
You know, everything we've heard about Kaiser up until this point has depicted him as a bloodthirsty savage. And he is that, but after this conversation we walk away understanding that there is a purpose behind that savagery. There is careful thought behind every action the Legion takes. And we walk away with 3 tasks. First, we need to meet up with a woman who's being harassed by Omerta thugs inside the Vault 21 Hotel and Casino. Second, we need to visit the Boomers and collect the hardware necessary to repair the howitzer here on Fortification Hill. And third, we have to kill House. Now that our reputation with the Legion has risen, Siri is willing to open up to us a bit more. What can you tell me about the Burned Man?
A vengeful spirit. Some of the more superstitious women claim. He was a great leader of the Legion before he failed Kaiser. The story says he was set on fire and thrown into the Grand Canyon, but his angry spirit rose from the ashes of his corpse, looking for revenge. Nonsense probably, but there's no doubt that many in the Legion believe he's still alive somehow.
I'd like some healing powder.
Here, come back in a day if you need more.
And we can get 6 healing powders every day. As we leave the fort, we can head over to the crosses to see Benny.
Happy now, you twisted bitch? Well, I ain't gonna give you the satisfaction.
Here he stays for the rest of the game. He's a tough guy. No matter how long we wait, he doesn't die. He just hangs here. We will pick up right here where we leave off and tackle those 3 tasks in tomorrow's episode. Welcome to my series on the Legion ending to Fallout New Vegas. As I did with my series on Mr. House, we will explore every dialogue option and every location as we play through to the end of the game, siding with Caesar's Legion. I'll also take the opportunity to complete some Legion-focused quests to better flesh out the Legion gameplay experience. If you want to make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. In celebration of this new series, I have a brand new shirt in the shop. The Profligate's days are numbered. You can find this shirt in a variety of both men's and women's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. My designs also come on other products, smartphone cases, mugs, pillows, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with the next episode.